about that. All right, I think we're live with our audience. I had to go live because they give me Facebook gives me a they start to threaten me if you don't go live in like 2 minutes, we're going to shut you down.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
like from the time you connect.
if you don't meet your deadline, they're just trying to make people keep their deadlines, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Do you see they're actually limiting ads starting in February?
Really?
Yeah. So like it's a pretty high limit, but they're actually putting a cap on how many ads you can run at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think probably people were doing too many variations or something.
Oh, okay.
But
wow, so, interesting.
Yeah. Because there's software out there that can like spin out like 400 ads.
Oh yeah.
So I think they're trying to crack down on that kind of stuff.
I see. Yeah.
So make you work for it.
Now, who would actually use software to crank out just random ads? I mean, well, marketers wouldn't do that, would they?
Nah, not quite random. I mean, yeah, but yeah, so it's basically to accelerate your split test, right? So if you've got one image, if you got 3 images and 3 pieces of copy, it's only 9. But if you add a third element, then that's 27.
Yeah,
and on down the line. So if you're testing headlines and body copy and images, you start to add up the number of variations pretty quick, and then you throw in audiences and everything else. It can get pretty crazy pretty quick.
Yeah,
that's why I let other people do that.
Yeah, yeah, that can get very expensive if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Wake up one day and you got $2,500 on your credit card if you did something wrong, and no sales.
Exactly. That's the key. Nothing to show for it.
Yep. All right.
Here we go. I'm going ready for the audio. Go 3, 2, and 1. Blast off. All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool. Hey, Jonathan, I got a question for you. So what happened to the bumper music? I thought we were going to do some bumper music at some point. Did you figure that out yet?
Oh,
some intro music, some like cool.
Oh yeah, we need to. Yeah,
funk slap bass or some country or something. So give the people something to listen to as we banter on here in the beginning.
Yeah, I need to peruse because you sent me that website, and I haven't gotten around to. Looking for bumper music, and it's like a rabbit hole that you can just go down, and it'll just suck you in for hours and hours and hours.
It will indeed. That's not quite right. Let me try this one. Nope. And then you can't remember which one you liked, and you got to go find it again. Like that's why people have full-time jobs doing that kind of stuff. Producers, I think they're called.
Yeah.
So
yeah, which we are not.
Yeah.
We're just a couple of guys that throw out the content. And,
yeah.
Hey, but our bumper is getting a little dated. I feel like it's getting a little dated, so I think we need to upgrade that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk beer, and let's talk our sponsor here, because I've got another beer from the Original Craft Beer Club.
The Original Craft Beer Club. And you would think that after our last episode,
you'd have that pulled up and ready to go.
That would be pulled up right in front of me, but no.
We like to keep it authentic.
All right. The Original Craft Beer Club. Outstanding craft beers from the finest independent microbreweries in the US of A. Craft beers have exploded in popularity over the past decade, and there are thousands of awesome craft beers being produced by many of these new microbreweries that are clamoring for your attention. Now, here's the best way to sample all of these unique beers, and that's by letting the Original Craft Beer Club do all the legwork and all the tasting to bring you the best beer discoveries around. And that's what they do, because they sample them, they put them together, and then they send them right to Sean.
Yep.
And then he samples them, and then he talks about them with a little trivia.
There you go. So I've got my little sheet here that comes with your pack. You get 2 sheets you get 4 beers every month, at least in the pack that I've got.
Right.
3 of each beer, 4 types of beer. So I got a new shipment just the other day, and you get these little newsletter type things that have a little bit about the brewer itself, a little bit about the beers themselves, and then a recipe on the back and some trivia. So I haven't even looked at this week's trivia, but
yeah, man, I was looking for it on our last episode. Of course, we were running short on time with our guest coming on.
Yeah. So here's the old trivia question. Wait, I got to break out the glasses. The old trivia question.
By the way, did you even mention the website on those glasses? Because I didn't realize how thin those things were.
Yeah, I think it's thinoptics.com. Like, so,
okay.
Like if I hold this directly up to the mirror, like, I mean, they're like super thin. And I love the cell phone case because I don't have to carry a case or anything with me.
No, it's perfect.
When I'm out at a restaurant oh man, those were the days when I used to go to restaurants. What
are those?
So without takeout, without styrofoam. So yeah, so here's the trivia question. I'm going to ask the question and then we'll do the beers and then we'll come back to the answer. How about that?
Okay. So
here's the trivia question for you to be thinking about. What is Smash Brewing? What is Smash Brewing? And it's spelled a certain way. It's capital S, capital M, little a, capital S, capital H. So Smash, the A is lowercase. So that's a hint, by the way.
Oh, that's a hint?
That's a hint. That's a terrible hint.
So my first thought was it's a brewing company, but that's not.
No, it's a type of brewing. I will tell you that.
Smash. Okay, so obviously, so can you? Because I went right past the hint. Tell me what the hint was.
Okay, so it's called Smash Brewing,
mm-hmm.
and Smash is spelled capital S, capital M, lowercase a, capital S, capital H. So just the A is lowercase. So the SMSH stands for something.
Ah, okay.
But so while you do that, while you let that ruminate and percolate in the old noggin, I'll go into our beer that is. So this last month, I had a lot of kind of IPAs and things like this. So when I opened this month's case, I was excited to see we're starting to get towards some fall stuff. Although the first one is is still in the lager category. So that's the one I went with today, and is the Outlaw Lager.
Oh,
I mean, you got to like that name for a beer, right? The Outlaw Lager. Good label. Got the label. Yeah, you got the Western look to it. And it's from Sierra Blanca Brewing Company, which is out of New Mexico. It's one of New Mexico's oldest craft breweries. Sierra Blanca Brewing Company offers award-winning, locally inspired beers that continue to impress year after year. And then this particular one, Outlaw Lager, is a California common lager. Attention malt lovers, the Sierra Blanca Outlaw Lager is a unique brew that balances a rich caramel malt flavor with a mild hop finish that keeps the palate crisp. Reddish amber in color, the Outlaw Lager is a very complex California common style beer with a great malt hop balance. It pairs especially well with some word I can't pronounce, steak and chips and stews. Chartreuse. I don't even know what that is. CHARCUTERIE. Charcuterie. I don't know. Steak and chips. We'll go with that. We'll go with steak and chips. This was a silver medal award-winning beer from the World Beer Awards. So we had a lager, kind of an amber lager on the last episode. So this will be a good like head-to-head kind of comparison here. So what do you got?
All right. So before I move on to mine, I'm going to answer your question because I cheated.
You went to Google.
Single malt and single hop.
There you go.
Smash.
Yes. Smash Brewing, right? So, yes, single malt and single hop brewing is a way to cut down on various brewing ingredients and appreciate what each aspect of a recipe brings to the table. As the name implies, Smash recipes consist of one base malt and one hop variety, which can be used for multiple additions. Smash Brewing is an excellent way to learn about the flavors of various malts and hops impart on a beer. By focusing on just one grain and one type of hops, you can truly get a feel for the flavor of those used. The term smash was coined by a group of dedicated brewers at the popular home brewing from HBT, homebrewtalk.com. There you
So
go.
you're just keeping it simple.
Yeah. So basically just
Not all, you don't need all those ingredients.
You don't need 14 hops. You just need one, apparently. So, all right. Mine's poured and ready to go. Nice amber.
All right.
What do you got over there?
Okay. So I've got, I'm going to try another pumpkin ale. I'm going to compare the pumpkin ales on these back-to-back episodes.
All right.
So I've got a Southern Tier Brewing. This is from Southern Tier Brewing Company. A pumpkin.
Also sounds like a protein supplement. The pumpkin.
Yep. Pumpkin. So it's okay. So it's 8.6 on the ABV.
Ooh. Wow.
It is a the fermentation is ale yeast, 2 varieties of hops. So this is not a smash.
Not a smash.
This is a variety of hops, 2 varieties of malts, along with some pumpkin and spices, and it's got a malty sweetness, vanilla clove, allspice, cinnamon, nutmeg, pie crust. Oh no, here we go again with the pumpkin pie. Here we go. So all right, hopefully it's not so much. So
this is literally the opposite of smash brewing. This is like whatever we got laying around, guys. just throw it in the tank.
What's that? Leftover pie filling? Throw it in there. Yeah.
Is that crust in the break room?
It's got a nice color though.
Yeah, it's got like nice pumpkin color.
Yep.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that's terrible. There we go. This one's better. A little more cinnamon on this than the last one, but not as much like pumpkin pie. But you do get a little bit. You definitely taste the cinnamon in this one.
That's probably a nice balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can take the cinnamon without too much pumpkin.
Yeah,
too much pumpkin. Sorry.
Yes. So my last one was actually technically an ale, and this is technically a lager. I don't know. This is it's kind of a blah.
Really? A blah? Outlaw is blah.
There's like there's a strange aftertaste. I'm not sure what that is. I'm tasting. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the hops because it is 34 IBUs.
Yeah.
The last one was like 15. So, I'm going to go ahead and rate this one about a 2.9. Down the scale a little bit for me.
2.9. Yeah. Keep them humble, right under 3.
Yeah. Not quite a 3. It's over half, but not quite all the way there. So, yeah. So I'll give this a 2.9.
I'll give this one a 3.2. So this one's like a whole point above last one.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. So today you texted me earlier today and you said, hey, for the second show,
let's go retro.
Let's go retro. Do a little old school book. And you're pulling out semi old school book. So you went with The Irresistible Offer by Mark Joyner.
Yeah.
Right. And I said, okay.
I see your old school.
I see your classic or your old book, and I'll raise you an old book. And I'm pulling out The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing by Al Reese and Jack Trout. So you went a little more technique, tactic. I went a little more principle.
There you go. Which, those type of books it's just like Cialdini. That was what, 80, 83, 82, something like that. People are still talking about, that book in 2020. I mean, so
I don't hear enough people talk about this book actually. I think, there's a lot of people that use these ideas and they don't even realize where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to talk about 2 of them today. I don't know what you're going to talk about from yours, but we'll start with you since you picked the topic. So I'll let you go first.
All right. So a lot of good. So people that get this book are going to say, this is a little dated because this is what you think this book was actually published. And by the way, I still follow Mark Joyner. He's a really interesting guy to follow. If you don't follow him on Facebook or any other social media, he gets people thinking. So he's really good about that because he throws out a lot of provocative questions sometimes, just to stir up comments and reaction, which is pretty common these days. But
seems to be the way you do things. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it gets attention. But this book, I bought this back. I mean, I think I bought this back when I think it was first published or shortly after, back in 2006, 2007. This was at the beginning. Obviously, this is before social media became what it is today.
Yep.
But this was at the very kind of the early stages of the internet. It was kind of the wild, wild west still. I mean, people were, creating courses and, creating content and all sorts of stuff and marketing online. So he came out with his book. The interesting thing is, going back through this book today, there are so many lessons in it that, some of it, you can skip over some things, but there's some things where the principles are still as important today, if not more important today than they were then. But yet a lot of people sometimes skip over some of the steps. And there's one chapter in particular that I want to discuss today. And it's a chapter where it's called offer intensifiers. So, and these are ways to kind of spur people to take action right away on your product or service. And they're used time and time again. We see it all the time, even here, 2020. People do it on sales pages all the time. People do it in their marketing. And, there's some lessons for people who, somebody's coming and looking at your sales page or looking at your product or service and they're interested, but they don't take the necessary action right then and there. The last thing you want somebody to do is to either click away or say, I'm going to think it over and come back. Right. That's like a death knell. That's that's a killer sales statement. You will never see that person again.
Well, I mean, I could argue with that a little bit because I've got a tab open right now in my browser that is an order page that I have not pulled the trigger on, but I'm like almost there. So to be interesting, with that context, I'll be like, okay, what could they add that would get me to go ahead and pull the trigger? So this will be a kind of interesting little case study. Also, I was listening to a training. Do you remember The Rich Jerk?
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right, so the guy behind that is Kelly Felix.
Okay,
and he kind of went away for a while, and now he's back a little bit. He's got a new course out. But one of the things he was working on in the last couple of years was a credit secrets is what it was called.
Okay.
And this thing went from info product, like a $19 ebook, to a full-blown infomercial that did $50 million and was the number one infomercial in the country last year. And he just recently, on the last year, I guess, sometime sold the company, to some investors. And he talks about how what's old is new again. So, just because it's an old book doesn't mean it's not going to have some up-to-date things that you can relaunch or, redeploy out into the marketplace and probably get some good results because most people have probably forgotten about them.
Yeah. Yeah. If you've never read this book, even that it was published in 2005, if you've never read it, at least you're doing yourself a favor to at least get the Kindle version and go through this if you don't want to buy the book. But I would recommend, as we do, buying the book because that gives you the opportunity to go through, you underline, because you'll skip over some of this, but so much of this, Sean, is so applicable. And we sometimes in our modern day thinking think, we skip over that because it's like we kind of know about it. And that's the thing. A lot of this stuff that I'm going to talk about is common knowledge. People say, oh yeah, I knew that, but
But are you using it?
Am I using it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. People can know a lot of stuff, but they may not be using it. So what good does that do you if you know it? So
yeah. I mean, what good is knowing about crack if you're not using crack? I mean, right? Come on.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
That's a perfect metaphor right there.
Yeah, it's absolutely great. I was thinking maybe Walk to Right and meth, but yeah, I like the crack one too.
Well, you are in East Tennessee. So.
All right. So I'm going to list out some things and then we'll jump into yours because I know you got some things with the 22. By the way, I've got that book too. And I'm trying to remember the other famous book by is it Trout and Rise? Yes. I think they did one other famous book that I'm trying to
Positioning.
Positioning. Yes. And I think that Positioning is actually a little bit older, but that's a really good one. So this is how to turn your great product into a gotta have commodity. I hate the word commodity. So let's leave that word off, but how to turn a great product into a gotta have it now product.
Okay.
So here's the first one. Create a sense of urgency. We talk about that. If you're not creating a sense of urgency, by the way, I leave tabs open on my screen, but you know what? What freaks me out nowadays is because something inevitably, happens, a crash or somebody, for whatever reason, the power goes off. That scares the heck out of me. So I'm afraid, like, even if I have a tab open, I'll come back to it. I'm not gonna actually hit it. So
that's actually a good line. Like, like to acknowledge that in the copy and be like, I know you might want to just like keep this tab open for a couple of days and think about it. But what if the power goes out and you lose this?
Yep. Yeah. And it's happened to me.
Yeah. So
yeah. If you don't take action now, power goes out and you're dead.
Yeah. Especially if you're in California.
Yeah, exactly. All the generators in the world won't help you. So he talks about expiring. We talk about the sense of urgency and what is it Cialdini talks about is scarcity. Yeah. Scarcity and urgency.
Yep.
Creating that sense of urgency. So any way that you can create a sense of urgency in the product, because as as we talked about, if you don't take action, if you don't get your customer to take action right away or your potential prospect, it's not that they won't buy, but they may delay and it may cost you money. I like this. Marketing legend Joe Sugarman gave a great example of this once when he spoke of one of my seminars. He used a very deliberate, contrived urgency mechanism. And when someone in the auditorium tried to take him up on the offer after the time period was up, Joe gave him a healthy dose of verbal abuse. He did it humorously, of course, but the point was made that we all learn the value of using urgency as an effective sales device. And we use it. And there's a lot of ways to use it. I mean, Sean, there's a limited number, or this offer goes away if you don't take action. I've seen it on sales pages. If you don't take action on, this product right now, you don't get the special bonus or the special, you can use added value offers of gifting something, a gift or an extra, a product or something that they can get if they take action right away.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this sales page that I have open, right? And so it's a course. And I'm looking at it and there's one banner at the top, pretty small. It says, warning, this offer is only available for a limited time. But then it never mentions that again. It's a pretty long page. Yeah. That's kind of the summary page and then with the order buttons on it. So it's not the actual cart page, but it's the right before that. Mm-hmm. But then it really doesn't get into urgency again.
Yeah.
So covers everything else, testimonials, guarantees, bonuses, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they did not do a very good job of the urgency. Fortunately, it's not a copywriting course, so that's not a huge strike against them.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting to to look at that as we're talking about it.
And you can use urgency. We talk about sales copy. I use urgency all the time, and even in corporate selling, because typically whenever I will send somebody, if I've got a prospect, even a huge corporate company or a manufacturing company that is interested in like they're doing an RFQ for a quote on something, then I will send it to them. And one of the things that I always make a note of when I generate a quote or something for them is to mention at the very bottom, this is a limited time offer. So you have, this last, typically I'll say like 20 days or 30 days or something like that. And so this is limited. So if you don't take advantage of, the pricing terms that you have now, this could go away. It's not and I don't say exactly what it's going to be after that, but I just say this is limited. This price is limited for the next 20 days. What that does is, because sometimes I work with like corporate buyers, their job, within organizations is to get the best price they can and to help cut costs and save money. If they don't take advantage of that, then, and they know it, it's on the documentation and it's on, a quote or something like that they've received, and you've sent that to them, then they're kind of like, you've kind of put the onus on them to make that decision. If they're going to, you kind of spur them along, because if they don't, they miss out.
Yeah. And in your world, I mean, that's a big number typically. If it's a 5 or 10% discount, it could be a really huge number because you're dealing with industrial, big companies, lots of volume. What do you usually do for that? Because one of the mistakes I see with urgency all the time is not having a valid reason for the urgency. Like to just throw a countdown timer, it will work for a large portion of the audience, but it works even better if there's a real kind of legitimate reason for it.
So in materials, typically what I'll tell a person when I send it out and it has that urgency statement of this is valid for this, the reason that I typically give, and you need to have even, and I don't use a fake, this is actually real, but you can use you talk about the fake because, you can give any because and people will accept it, but I give a valid because, but it's simply because I tell them the price of raw materials they're fluctuating all the time. You don't know. So it's all about supply and demand. And sometimes it's about, especially in times like this that we're in, supply chain disruptions and things like that within manufacturing can be a problem. So I tell them, because raw materials the price of raw materials can change because of supply chain disruptions and so forth. This is not an open-ended. And so I'm going to set this for 20 days or so, and you can take advantage of it then. After that, I have no idea. If you want to lock it in now, I'll lock it in for you. And that's despite what happens, so if you lock it in and you get the price now, you've locked it in for, the next year or so. And typically when I'll send out something is pricing for at least a year. So you've locked it in regardless of what happens with, raw materials. So I give them a very valid reason. And I think that's an important point, Sean, is to make sure that you're giving a valid reason in your because as to why, this is a limited offer. You're just not making it up.
Yeah. And it needs to be believable. It doesn't have to be necessarily like really tied to fluctuation in price or something like that. Right. So I saw one the other day. In fact, it was Kelly Felix, the course that I ended up getting from him. He did this really cool thing. He said, so at the end, right under the price, he said, this is a no upsell zone, right?
Yeah.
Because most of the people that buy his stuff understand marketing.
Sure.
They're used to upsells. So it said, this is a no upsell zone. However, I'm constantly testing my offers, and I may take the bonuses and turn them into upsells.
Right.
I was like, I can believe that. Like, that's believable. Like, I could see how a marketer might want to test a couple of the bonuses that are now free included in the price, and then put them as upsells later. So that got me to take action immediately. I didn't keep it open in the browser for days. so yeah, that's a little, nice piece of urgency there that has a good kind of, it seems like a legitimate, valid reason why you might have that price and why the price might change, or what you get for the price might change.
Right.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
Thought that was a really good example of a kind of urgency to push people on to buying.
Yeah, I think that's extremely, and it's, I feel like it has to be, it has to be believable. And, you want to use valid, don't lie, don't make stuff up, give a valid reason. I think there's always a challenge when you're marketing digital content, but you can create urgency around digital content, like you said.
Yeah. It's, obviously if you're selling an ebook, don't say, there's only 50 copies if you're going to sell as many as you can sell.
Right.
Because that'll eventually come back on you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what you can do is you can say, if you're going to monitor it, you could say, the first 500 buyers, get this bonus. And after that, the bonus is gone.
Yeah.
But then be ethical about it and actually take the bonus away after 500 buyers.
Right.
Or at the very least, switch the bonuses out,
to
a different bonus.
Yep.
All
Absolutely. Right. So there's two more, and then we'll get into yours that I really want to cover. And that's one is payment plans, and the other is increasing your price to create a higher perceived value. And I think that some people they're kind of I think people can be a little skittish on that one, but let's get into the payment terms first.
Okay.
Payment terms are really good for any product, especially high-end product. If you're offering, $1,000, let's just say $1,000 or more in your product, if it's an info product, or if it's a, some kind of product that you're creating, you need to be offering payment terms, and creates an easy way. It's kind of an easy entrance point for people to get in on board.
Yep.
Understand that people, even if they can afford to drop $1,000 or more, whatever the price is, they sometimes those high-end clients or those high-end customers still want payment terms. And there's a reason. Sometimes they like to spread out the payments a little bit. Even if they could afford to drop it all at one time, they still want options.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like that. If it's going to be a 4-month course or a 6-month course,
right?
Like, why should I have to pay all up front? I'm not getting all the information up front. So if you let me pay monthly over the same time frame, I just feel better about it.
Absolutely.
And hopefully, and then you also kind of you tap into the hope that they are going to be making, if it's a make money type course or improve your life type course, or make you more money in the business or save you money in the business.
Right.
Then you tap into that justification of, oh, I should be able to offset these payments after the first 30, 60 days.
Absolutely.
So that lowers resistance.
Yep.
What's crazy though? I've seen lately, I don't know if it's just on Shopify stores, but I'm starting to see payment plans. And I guess this is probably coming from like the QVC effect. I mean, I see payment plans on like supplements now. Like a $50 bottle, you can do payments of like, $7 and stuff.
That's
I'm
crazy.
like,
yeah,
how would that work? Because like it's gone in a month, and then you're making payments for 6 months. But I guess it gets people in the door.
Yeah.
But at some point that would catch back up with you, and you'd end up be paying more per month than you would. But but the fact is, they know most people don't renew supplements.
Sure.
People bounce around on supplements all the time. So they're just trying to get that sale, and then get the residual payments. But yeah, I've seen that a lot lately. Like, a $60 product that has payments of, $5 to $10. So that seems to be making a little bit of a comeback.
Yeah.
And QVC's made a fortune doing that, doing the 5 easy pay. You want to buy a $400, Vitamix blender. Not everybody can drop $400 on a blender.
Right.
But you want it, the quality's good, something you'll probably have for 10 years, you're like, yeah, that makes more sense to do 5 payments, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's, 5 payments of $80 or something instead of that big $400, payment. So,
and that feels easier for a lot of people.
I
mean, it's like, yeah, I can do $80 a month. What I can't do is drop, $500, $400, right away. But if you give me if you give me some options to pay this over, off over a
especially
5-month period,
especially if it's something I'm going to have from now on or for the next 10 years or whatever, then it kind of makes sense. And it just lowers resistance. And that's all you're trying to do with all these techniques.
Sure.
You're trying to lower resistance.
Well, it's a good example is this, company that I've done business with. They're Sweetwater. That a lot of the audio equipment that I buy from, they give that option in terms of payments. So they offer like the piece of equipment, this Roadmaster or Roadcaster Pro that I use. This is a $700 piece of equipment, and I bought 2 of these. So the second one that I bought, I actually paid upfront for this one, but the second one I bought was for mostly doing like mobile podcasting, like when I'm traveling or something like that. I wanted to have kind of a backup unit.
Yeah.
So they offered this payment terms where I'm thinking, I could buy this, but I'm going to spread it out over 3 months. And so I like to play a little game. I don't know if you do this. I like to play a little game, like to say, I'm going to buy something and I'm going to see if I can get somebody to pay for it. Right.
Yeah. I do that. Yeah. All the time. Like what type of client would I need to get, or what type of project would I need to get
exactly
to pay for this toy?
So it's really fun.
Yeah. So, and sometimes I try to get it ahead of time, and sometimes I'm like, I'll just find them. I'll find them later. But I'm actually, that's one reason. It's funny you say that, because one reason I've got this tab open is I've got another project that's like right on the bubble.
Yeah.
And if I got that project, it would pay for this course easily, Yeah. So I'm like, well, I can just hang on to that, and I'll buy it once I have that client in hand. So,
well, that's the same. The second Roadcaster Pro, I purchased it and I said, you know what, I could buy this up front. I could just drop it and have them send it, or I could spread it out. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to spread it on terms. And by the time my first payment is due, because I actually signed up, they had this interest-free thing. So I was like, before the first payment is due, I'm going to have a new sponsor that's completely going to pay for that, in the next month, and I don't have to pay a thing. And so I did it, and so that's it's kind of a cool, if you like to play games like that, which, some of us marketers like to do. We like to play games, we like to say, oh yeah, I can make that work.
Yeah. And I don't see enough people in copy, myself included, using that angle, because there's a lot of people like us out there. Right. That goes back to the kind of the justification, rationalization part. Like, and I know some people do it. They're like, just one client, in the next year would pay for this, that kind of thing. Yeah. But I think you could drive a little bit deeper on that.
But it's actually, to me, I like it because it gets me motivated. It's kind of a cool strategy, because if you think about it, it gets you motivated to get out there and hustle, get new clients, or get new in the case of my podcast, get new sponsors, get new clients, so it kind of spurs you on.
Yeah. That's a good, like on a digital product, you could easily create a bonus. You could call it a quick start, pay for the course bonus, right?
Yep.
And you're going to give people tips on how to get their first client in 30 days. So if they make one payment now, by the time the second payment comes, you've got a good chance of paying this thing off.
Absolutely.
And that's going to, again, it's all about lowering resistance and that's all guarantees do. That's all payment plans do, is they just kind of help lower resistance.
Sure.
And then you're tapping into that hope. You're kind of future pacing people into seeing themselves, which is just helpful. They get to see themselves making money with it, and all that. One thing I will say about payments is don't get greedy. I see some payments that, they'll turn a $2,000 or $1,000 course into, $1,500 or $2,500. trying to make a lot of extra money because of the quote risk. I mean, come on, it's a digital product. Like if they don't make the third payment, you're fine.
Right.
Like don't get greedy.
Sure.
Because then you lose the whole effect of payments, because people will do the math and they'll be like, I don't know. I'd like the payments, but I'm not going to pay an extra $200 just for the privilege of payments. Like that's, you know,
right.
So if you want to tack on a little extra, but you know, be careful that you don't get greedy and go over the top.
Yeah, I agree.
Don't be a tote the note lot that like the down payment is what the car's worth and you got 48 payments left.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. Here's the last thing is your pricing. So I want to bring this up because this is really important. People don't understand sometimes that increasing the price on your product is actually a good strategy. You know, it goes against conventional wisdom, but sometimes perceived value is everything. And how you create perceived value is simply by, you know, one of the things you can do is just increasing your price. And here's a little, in the section, he talks about, from Robert Cialdini's book Influence, he cites a case study where a jewelry store owner left instructions to a clerk to slash all prices in half. Sales were horrible, and he wanted to get rid of some of the inventory that they had fast. The clerk misunderstood the clerk misunderstood the note and thought the owner was advising him to double the price, which he did. At the end of the day, the entire inventory was sold out. The idea here is the higher price created a higher perceived value. Sometimes we make the mistake of cutting our prices, thinking that helps, but it really hurts us because, you know, sometimes price is you know, people associate the value of a product based on the price. And I know I'm guilty of this. I think about anytime I shop for anything on Amazon, and you should do this exercise, but anytime you're comparing prices on Amazon, I will usually, I don't know about you, Sean, but I'll usually gravitate towards the price that's higher just because I feel like the quality's better. There's no justification for that. Completely irrational. But I'll just do it. Sometimes I'll just click the order on the higher price product just because I think that it's a higher perceived value when I don't have any basis for that. I don't have any back knowledge. But I think higher price means higher value. And I mean, we're in sales and marketing. We understand this, but yet we do it.
Yeah.
We're victims of it.
So you're the guy that buys monster cables instead of the regular 16 gauge wire, right?
Absolutely.
Because monster cable, I mean, it's got to be better. It's 10 times, it's like 3 times the price, so it must be better.
Yep.
And that's a great. I mean, I think the best place to do that, ironically, and counterintuitively, is commodity products.
Yes. Like
cables, you know, for your computer. Like if you got a cable that's going from your MacBook to an external monitor, you know, you can get those things for $3 or you can get them for $33.
Right.
And there's a market out there that will pay
absolutely
the $33 because they perceive it to be better, which is actually a wonderful segue down to one of my 22 immutable laws of marketing. We didn't even plan this, but the chapter 4, the 4th law, is the law of perception. And it says marketing is not a battle of products. It is a battle of perceptions, which is exactly what you just said about, you know, raising the price and all that. So, you know, too many people are quoting the specs and the modules and the whatever-ness of their products, when what they really need to be doing is upping the perception of what that product can do for the person. Like Absolutely. Just totally up. I mean, you know, you and I, we've talked about this before, have spent tens of thousands of dollars on Apple products and continue to do so, even though we complain about them lately, because we just have this perception that they're just better. And in some ways they literally are, I think, with some of the design and some of the other stuff. But there's a lot of competitors now that are probably just as good, but the perception that they branded so long ago still sticks.
It does.
and
we accept some of the recent, some of the recent flaws. We'll still accept them because we've been hooked at years back, and so they haven't lost us yet. Because we're still hooked in that belief that they are, the higher value product. They last longer. They don't get viruses. So,
yeah. So it's and that leads right into the next law that they talk about in this book. Chapter 5 is the law of focus. Now, at first, the law of focus doesn't sound like that would have anything to do with perception, but when you understand the definition of focus, the subtitle of this chapter is the most powerful concept in marketing is owning a word in the prospect's mind. So I'm going to say a list of words, and you tell me the brand that pops into your head that goes with it.
Okay.
All right. You ready? Cavities.
Crest.
Yep. Some of these are old, so they may have lost some of their thing. But we'll go with driving machine.
Driving machine.
They don't use this one as much, but for a while they owned it. So that'd be BMW.
Oh, okay.
Safety.
Subaru.
That's what I would say today. Yeah. Although I think they try to own the word love.
Yeah.
Recently. But for a while they were doing safety, but before them it was Volvo. And I think Subaru stole safety from Volvo.
Right.
The other ones in here. So home delivery, back when this was 93 when this was written. So home delivery.
Amazon. No, wait a minute. Amazon.
Yeah, so Amazon owns that now, right? I mean, they've stolen that from Domino's.
Sure.
But back in the 90s, Domino's was the only thing you could get delivered. Like you didn't have all these delivery apps and everything else. Like Domino's paved the way for delivery. I mean, they were iconic with home delivery. Another one is service was Nordstrom's.
Yeah.
They were known for their customer service and things like that.
Sure.
So some of these have slipped, but if you can own a word or a phrase or an idea in your marketplace, that you just pummel your advertising with that, and you kind of have to build it, and that's harder to do for independent contractors, for like small business, one-man shops. It's a little harder to do when obviously you don't have like a branding budget like a Pepsi or any of these brands, BMW, things like that. But you might be able to do it in your niche.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So if you're a coach, you could be, you could pick a name, you could pick a word to so think about like, if I was to think about Jocko Willink, right? So he's got extreme ownership. Like that was his book, but it's also his core identity. And like, if I say ownership to just about any entrepreneur, they're going to think of that book. Like, even if I don't say the extreme part, they're going to think Jocko Willink, If I say podcast, a lot of people are going to think Joe Rogan, because he's the top of the game right now. And for a while it was Tim Ferriss, but I think Joe Rogan's taken over Tim Ferriss when you think about podcast.
Yeah.
So even a one-man shop can kind of take an idea.
Financial Peace. What do you think of?
Yeah, Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's both a brand and an idea. So if you can kind of figure that part out,
sure.
Man, it's really powerful, and you can own that for a long time.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You can, I mean, Dave Ramsey's been doing that for 20 plus years,
that was a brilliant play too. Financial Peace.
Yeah. And even Debt Snowball, right? He owns it. He kind of owns that phrase, so, so if you can find those phrases, they're hard to do, but that's what good copywriters can help you do. They can help you coin some phrases. But even if you can own like a bigger, it's harder now than probably it was in 93 for sure, but you could still do it. I mean, you can, as
my
a coach,
friend, Dan Miller, he did 48 Days to the Work You Love,
which is a longer
8 days.
Yeah.
Why 48 days? You know, he's told the story time and time again. Why people ask him why 48 days? Why not? You know, it's not like there's nothing scientific behind 48 days to finding the work that you truly love. But he just said, you know what? It's different. And yeah, it can be done in 48 days. So I'm going to own that. And anytime somebody says 48 days, you know, there's no other person that's synonymous with that except for, you know, a guy like Dan Miller.
And you can either make up your own term or you can take a well-known term. Like safety is a well-known term. So it's going to take more branding to capture that. Or you can make up your own term. We've talked about this, you know, with like cult building and some of those type of things, you know, ClickFunnels. Russell Brunson is just he's fabulous at this, right? He creates his own terms, funnel hacking. You know, he brought the word funnel kind of front and center to the world. Like there were sales funnels. Dan Kennedy talked about sales funnels long before Russell Brunson. Yeah. But Russell Brunson made it something he owned.
Sure.
You know, Dan Kennedy went with No BS kind of as a brand, but as an idea, I think, you know, what they did at ClickFunnels is just really ingenious with the way he just owned the idea of a funnel, sales funnel.
Yeah.
So those kind of things can really put you on the map and make you very memorable and very buyable from like, you know, people want to buy from people who own a certain idea. Yeah. Like if I want to talk about ownership, personal responsibility, I'm going to go to Jocko Willink, right? Yeah. If I'm looking for a keynote speaker or whatever, you know, if I'm looking for influence, I'm going to go to Cialdini. He's created that, you know, that brand. If you want persuasion, you come to us. That's
exactly. That's right.
Persuasion or beer, either one.
Persuasion. If you put persuasion and beer together in Google,
we're the guys.
We're the guys. You come straight to our show.
Yep. So those are the two I picked out. So just it's cool to go back through. You know, you and I both have shelves full of books around us, and sometimes it's just good to go back and read through them. You don't have to reread the whole thing. Just go back and look at your old highlights. Like it's funny. This one has the page that was marked is like an old ATM receipt. And
that's great.
And I looked at the balance and I was like, that was a good month. So it's like, that's pretty cool.
Receipts are great bookmarks.
Yes.
Especially dated receipts.
Those are although, you know, they kind of disappear because now a lot of them are thermal now. Yeah. So once they get hot, they all fade. But this one still looks nice and clean. I got $40 out and still had a lot of money left over. So that was nice.
Also ATM receipts. Not that I don't use an ATM much anymore. I used to.
Anymore. Yeah. But this one was dated. So the last time I must have read this book was 2011.
Sure.
So, but yeah, pulled it out of the Bearden ATM, SunTrust ATM.
That's awesome.
So a little really snapshot of life right there. Yep. Probably reading it in my car or something, and you know, before Audible.
Yep.
I think I got my Audible account in 2012, so somewhere in there.
And these books are available on Audible as well.
They are. So
again, the 22 immutable laws of marketing.
Yep.
And
violate them at your own risk.
And Mark Joyner's Irresistible Offer, which
two good books.
It's two good books you should be reading. If not getting a Kindle and just going through scanning them, but these are good. These are good reference books to go back through because there's a lot. I could go through this one. You know, I covered that one chapter, but there's several chapters in here that are very relevant to still today, 2020. Creating the right formula for your offer. I mean, that's a show in and of itself. Let's see, the elements of an irresistible offer. There's a lot of good sections in here.
You could literally take either one of these books and do an audit on whatever you're currently running or whatever your client is currently running.
Yep.
And you could just go chapter by chapter and do an audit And you could probably, in fact, I would say you could build an audit out of either one of these books and charge for the audit and get customers.
Absolutely.
And you could probably charge $2,500 easy to say, hey, I'm going to do a funnel audit on your audit, and I'll give you, a full list of all the things you're missing.
Sure.
That could improve, your sales or whatever. And you just go chapter by chapter and you just write down what they're missing, because I guarantee you they're missing probably half of this stuff.
Oh, easy.
And if they're not missing it, they could certainly be testing something else that's either stronger or better or whatever.
Yep.
So there, this show could be worth $2,500 easy to you. If you're a good salesperson, you could probably sell that for more. But you ought to be able to sell an audit like that for $2,500 easy.
Easy.
So
just remember those takeaways we gave you. And you'll, for free. Man. All right.
Just buy beer from the original Craft Beer Club. And, if we put links on our show page, use them, because we might get an affiliate commission. Yeah,
that's right. Exactly. So key takeaway, perceived value, pricing.
Yep.
Those are, I think the perceived value is probably one of the greatest, creating that perceived value.
And it's all made up. So, I mean, like, even the people that are going after low price, it's just made up.
Yep.
So don't be afraid to go higher price. Don't be afraid to build perception around your brand.
Right.
And good design, good packaging can make so much. I did a post on Facebook last week. I don't know if you saw it, that I held up, like I got a new MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, and instead of,
I saw that.
And like I said, one of the great mysteries in life, why can I not get rid of my Apple product boxes?
Because they're awesome looking.
The packaging is just so next level, and it creates this perception around the entire product and the entire brand that if they put this much care into the packaging, how cool must the product be, right?
Right.
And I was actually amazed. I did it just kind of as a joke, and I was amazed at like how many people responded. They were like, yeah, me too. I got a closet full of this stuff. It's like, before we moved to Austin, I think I had 4 iPhone boxes that I no longer had the phones for. I probably carried them in at least a move or two. Like, so like,
because they're so sturdy. But
it's not like you'll ever put it. It's not like they're sturdy, so you might save them to put something else in them. They're just, it's crazy, but it just goes
cool.
to show,
yeah. But they're almost part of the product itself.
They are. I mean,
there's nothing cooler when you order a new, Apple product and you get that, like the box that it came in.
Yep.
And it's usually, it's got the image of whether it's a laptop or your, like you said, your new iPad Pro.
Yeah.
But that's part of the experience, creating that experience around the packaging. You get it, and it's like really slick. And it's like
everything has its place inside the box. Like,
everything.
And exactly. They don't even use twisty ties, right? They use this special little die cut piece of paper that holds the cords together. It's just like everything is thought of.
Absolutely.
And it makes you feel like I made a good decision when I bought this product, because they obviously care about their products to package it like this. Yep. And sometimes you're not even aware of that. But that's the subliminal stuff going on that you're like, man, this must be quality if they package it like this.
Oh yeah.
And then you want to save the box, because you're like, oh my God, if I ever have to like carry this anywhere, I want to make sure I have the box for it. But then you throw it in the backpack and it gets all beat up and stuff. But I tell you,
I've got in my attic up here, my office attic, I've got several. First of all, I've got it's like a couple of these, the Apple tote bags.
Yeah.
With the handles.
For your Mac, for your iMac.
Yeah. So I've got like two of those big tote bags.
Yeah.
Full of discarded boxes in those bags. So
I have to say, I'm really impressed with the iPad Pro.
I like the new design.
With the Magic Keyboard. Because the Magic Keyboard now has a trackpad. Which is just like, that's game changer.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you can actually like highlight and copy and paste text a lot easier,
That is a game changer.
which you couldn't do before. So like, and I must have watched like 15 hours of YouTube videos deciding if I wanted to buy this thing or not, instead of another like MacBook.
Another MacBook, yeah.
And everyone I watch says it's, if you don't, unless you're using it for like, even some people that were doing video editing said the iPad was outperforming the MacBook.
Wow, that's pretty.
Because it's a different type of processor and all that stuff. But
basically, almost like you might as well. It might as well be a laptop.
I mean, it really is. It's kind of like, and that's the direction they've been going. Like it now competes with the Surface Pros and all that stuff, and it's kind of cool because you can go from trackpad to touching the screen and all that stuff. So I've decided I'm moving from, I've got the MacBook Pro with 2 screens, but my MacBook Pro is like from 2013. It's getting ancient.
Yeah.
So I got the iPad, and then I'm going to a desktop like you have for the home device, and then I'll just carry the iPad Pro with me from now on.
Right.
For my traveling, because I don't do a ton of traveling. So yeah, it's a pretty cool machine. But again, it's all.
Show us that keyboard real quick, because I've got an iPad Pro, but I don't have the new. I got to see the new keyboard.
Cool, it actually like props it up like a laptop.
Yeah, I like that.
Now the problem is if it's on your lap, it is a little top heavy still, because the computer itself is up here.
Yeah,
it is heavier, but it's pretty stable and sturdy, and you can tilt it pretty good bit, and then the you've got the trackpad and everything else.
That's cool.
And it lights
looks
up.
It looks like a Mac.
Looks like a black.
People that aren't watching the video, it looks like a MacBook keyboard.
Yeah, it does. It looks like a 13-inch MacBook keyboard.
Yep.
And it's because this is the 11.9 or whatever, 12.9. It's the larger iPad Pro.
Okay.
And now you can do side-by-side apps and all that kind of stuff natively. Cool. And even the keyboard is backlit.
Oh, nice.
And it just runs off the power of and what's cool is like, you've got this, right? You got the keyboard, and it's all magnets. It just pulls right.
Nice.
And it snaps right back on.
Yeah.
And it won't go anywhere unless you pull it off.
Very cool. Another reason why Apple continues to take our money from us.
Yeah. Even though like I was upset that they aren't improving their MacBooks, like now, they still got me, Yeah. And it's because of leftover perception, from when I bought my first real like MacBook in 2013, and this thing's been a workhorse.
Sure.
Ever since. So yeah. All right.
I did want to share one last thing on perceived value. I meant to share this earlier when I was covering it, but so here's 2 examples I got in the mail this week. These are both, and you can't see, probably hard to see. I'll hold it up close, but you can see the one looks like a handwritten envelope, although it's probably printed out. Can you see that, Sean?
Yep.
This one is the same type of offer, but you see it's in the more traditional.
Looks more like a bill or a credit card statement or something like that. Yep.
So these are both basically offers for refinancing.
Okay.
Guess which one I opened?
Well, I can see the one is open. So
this one is not. I'll show you. I never opened this one because it.
So what does the return address say on the more official looking one?
It gives a person's name, which is Alan.
So it doesn't give
no, it doesn't give a company. So you think you're getting a personal. It looks like a personal card.
Yeah.
Or a personal
bill, or it looks more like a bill though.
This one?
Oh, that one doesn't. Yeah, that one looks like a card. But the other one, what is it? The return address on it?
Oh, yeah. It's a JFQ lending.
Yeah, so you automatically know what that's about.
Right, exactly.
There's no mystery there.
So I just tossed it.
I goes to the B pile, as Gary Halbert would say.
But this one, exactly like you said. This one, no company name.
Right.
Person's name is like a handwritten, and it looks personal. He addresses it to me, but there's no company name, and it gives the obviously the return address. It looks handwritten, but I know it's not. It's obviously they're using some kind of I send out cards and stuff like that for sending cards, but I'm sure there's they're using similar software to type it out to make it look like kind of an authentic handwritten card. Or
the point is, like, you suspend disbelief just enough.
Yep.
Like, there's reasonable doubt, right? That, oh, maybe it's important. Whereas the other one, it says so lending. You haven't borrowed money recently, so it's like, all right, they're going to ask for my lending. They're going to ask me to be a lending customer.
Right.
I don't really need to look at that.
Nope.
And the other one is like, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm curious. Yeah, I was very curious, and I opened it up.
So now you've
opened it up. It didn't go in the in the trash.
Which is the first micro commitment, right? Because now you've opened it, so now you got to pull it out.
Right.
Now you owe it, you just took the time to open it and pull it out, so you might as well at least read the headline and first sentence or two.
Absolutely.
And that's all a copywriter or a marketer can ask for, is that you at least start the reading process. Then if you don't, then it's on them if you don't get past that, right?
That's right.
So, yeah.
Opening the envelope is so important. So, but that was a good job. But yeah, I was totally curious when I got it. So that's, again, perceived value. Perception is everything. And obviously when I look at the two and I compare the two, one looks formal, one looks like a bill, like you said. One looks like I'm getting sold by a company. One looks like a personal greeting from somebody I have no idea who, but I'm curious. So
that'll do it. So
all right.
Another good episode in the books. Good takeaways there, I think. So
yeah, absolutely. So you can find us, for all of our listeners, persuasionbythepint.com. Also, you can visit our Facebook group over at facebook.com/groups/persuasion by the pint. You can join. We've got a community there. That's where we post our live broadcast of the show each and every week. You can join over there. Just send us or just submit just join, and we'll you get accepted right away. There's no gatekeepers there. So, you can find the podcast on all of your podcast platforms, whether it be iTunes or any of your preferred listening podcast applications. And Sean, it's been fun, man. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.